Well, no, it's not a good idea to do what Jesus did. I mean, that might sound a strange thing to say, but let me put it in what I'm thinking of. He goes into his own town, he goes into the synagogue, and he gets up to read, and he tells them this is the acceptable year of the Lord, and so on. So in a sense, he puts them right. Whereupon they take him to the brow of a hill to throw him off. Now, that wasn't a successful outreach, was it? And it says elsewhere, he could do no mighty works in his own country, which suggests that he did try. In his own town, his own village. Because, well, in that particular case, they treat locals with contempt. They'll listen to a guru that comes from afar, but, it's a bit like they received Paramahansa, but they didn't receive Kriyananda. That was much harder going to get something off the ground there. And in fact, when he held forth in what you would have thought was his own situation, when he was at self-realization fellowship, well, they flung him out. Got it wrong. Didn't hear. Do you see? So, you're going to make the same mistake as the greats? I don't think so. I use the greats with tongue-in-cheek to some extent here. Oh, and if you don't know what that means, what I mean is that we shouldn't be calling anyone great, whether it's Kriyananda, Paramahansa, or Jesus. We don't have great men or gurus, leaders, and so on. Our only leader is God. He's our teacher, and well, not even our master and Lord, because they have bad connotations, those words, don't they? He's our dearest friend. God is our Heavenly Father, our dearest friend. Perhaps you feel calling him dearest friend is too casual, and the relationship should be more formal, more distant. Well, perhaps if Jesus was using the word Abba and it means dad, then it's not the case. He's our dearest friend. Depending what your idea of an ideal dad is, I guess. May depend on the family experience you've had, mightn't it? And what it's taught you. Not necessarily quite what you've had, of course. Oh, well, to return to my point then, where we started, which was, no, it doesn't pay to teach where you're not officially the teacher. You possibly get away with it if you're actually at the top of the establishment. The establishment's structured so that, although even then, they can throw you out if they decide. If the congregation really get together and decide they're going to get rid of the pastor, they do. Even if he's the guy who set up the church in the first place. So beware. I think I mean by that beware not just of teaching on someone else's patch, but even teaching on what you consider to be your own patch. They may still throw you out. What's really suspect is teaching at all. You say, well, that's very strange, Marshall, because aren't you doing just that? Aren't you therefore a self-contradiction? I take your point. Except that I'm not running an organisation here. I'm just saying what I think. Actually saying, of course, from my point of view, what I think will bless you. But you might not receive it as that. But you are very free in this particular context of listening to me, say, on YouTube, not even listening to me face to face, person to person, but on YouTube. That when you get to a point where you think this is not for me, you can just switch on to something else. You are very free, aren't you, to come or go as you choose. Whereas if we were face to face, you might feel a bit concerned about hurting my feelings by saying, no, I don't agree with you. You might just say, oh, that's an interesting point, and quickly get yourself away, where you will not think of this not so interesting point again. You're free, you see. And you are here to be free in that you're here to be free to love your God, not mine, with all your heart, soul, mind and strength. And presumably you're trusting him to bring you through to a clearer understanding of what he should be. And I should not get in the way of that with my view of what I think you should be doing for your own benefit. So I try to give opportunity without getting in the way. So I don't agree with shouting in the street, enticing people to meetings, having organisations that would have meetings. Paramahansa's guru said, but you want to keep all the goodness to yourself? You need an organisation. He was wrong. You don't need an organisation. You need God. God does not need an organisation. He has you meeting all sorts of people in your normal daily life. You are an example of the opportunity they can have. If they see something in you that they value, they will inquire, and you will say, not something that will endanger your life, have the Inquisition down upon you. But you'll suggest things that are safe to suggest, but helpful. And if they find you a blessing, they will seek your company out, and you will presumably make it available too. And God will do the rest. For hereby are you sent, as Jesus was sent. But not to make the mistakes that Jesus made. What? Jesus made mistakes? Yes, I think so. I mean, it's not a happy ending, getting crucified. Do you think I want my children crucified? Of course not. God didn't want that. It wasn't required. Oh, it must have been required, you think? Well, okay, I won't say it again. I mean, I'm not here to persuade you otherwise. You see what I mean? I'm not meant to impose my view on you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Oh, I'm just thinking, yesterday we were talking to a chap who's going to give a talk this evening on Nietzsche. And he apparently, this Nietzsche guy, this well-known philosopher, who's famously recorded as claiming that God is dead, has died. Although we're pretty clear he doesn't believe that God ever existed, lived to die, but still. Well, he said that Nietzsche's view was that if you think you're a follower of Nietzsche, you got it all wrong. You're not meant to be following me. You're meant to be finding your own path to whatever you see as enlightenment and learning accordingly. Now, he's not presupposing God in this. He's just saying, this is the way. Isn't that interesting? How incredibly similar that is, in fact, in reality, to Jesus being the way. You're sent to tell them only that God is their heavenly dad. Oh, that's pretty minimal, isn't it? And just to tell them that doesn't mean to say they have to, go overboard and be forced to do it. It's not really much teaching, is it? Now, in the story, this was enough to actually get Jesus crucified officially. But in reality, we feel he got crucified because he was a threat to them in some way and an insult in a major way publicly. In other words, he was teaching crowds of people. I mean, there are many people in the population that had all sorts of crazy ideas. They didn't see that as threatening. There were people who didn't effectively follow the Judaic religion, or they followed something else. They were Roman and so on. They weren't crucifying them. Why did they crucify Jesus in the story? Well, really, as you read the story, it's because he was a menace from their point of view. Do you see? So don't make the same mistake. Don't be a menace. There's no need. You don't have to have an organization, a church, a leading, a following, a rebellion. You don't have to be in the face of those that don't want to know. But for those who wish to hear, you're okay. Possibly not in large crowds. And don't set about them as a teacher. Call no man teacher. You don't want them to call you teacher. I know we've got the thing in the story. You call me teacher and so I am. But look at the context again. If I being your teacher, why don't you do what I say? In other words, he's pointing out the futility of being a teacher. They're not doing it. Oh. Now, you can say, but in John 17 he says, they believe that thou didst send me. Well, yeah, I agree. Things are still not that certain and clear, are they? Let's think about that a minute. Could Jesus be saying, yes, you see me as teacher and Lord, and so I am to you, but it's not what I've been sent to do. I've just been sent to tell you that God is your dad. Make of that what you will. It'll be a blessing to you. End of story. It's between you and God, not between you and me. Not to spend your days, what did he teach? What did he say? Oh, I must get closer to this. Oh, I must learn this. Can I remember this? Not at all. That in passing I said to you, well, I see God as my heavenly dad. And I give no other teaching as such. You can barely call it teaching in that case, can you? You're just saying, well, this is my view. Not going into incredible detail. not dictating 3,000 recordings. Did God require Marshall to do this? No. He did it because it was of such value to him. He got such a lift every time he recorded. So he did. Does that mean you must produce 3,000 recordings? Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, what's the world going to be like? We're going to need more than clouds in the sky to keep all the words, aren't we? No, that's not the way. The way, according to the Jesus teaching, is to see God as your heavenly dad. Not necessarily your way. Your way might be to go to church, or to be secular like Nietzsche. From my point of view, God would still love you, because he's your dad. Parents love their kids, ideally. How much more God? So, we can imagine God loving us. Does that have a transforming effect on us? Well, taste and see. Try living as if you feel and believe and trust that God is your loving dad. Does it make a difference to you? You won't need me to teach you. God will be teaching you. From my point of view, you understand. What's yours? Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.